Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into something I bet's on a lot of minds out there. The future of jobs. You've sent in a mountain of sources, but at the top of the pile is this World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs Report 2025. So get ready. We're about to dig out the gold for ya.
And you're really keen to figure out which jobs are on the rise and which ones are, well, fading away, right? This report's a great place to start. It's super in-depth. They surveyed over 1,000 global employers. We're talking like over 14.1 million workers. Wow. Across something like 22 industries and a crazy 55 economies.
Feels like they surveyed the whole world. The thing that really got me, they predict that almost a quarter of all jobs, like a whopping 22%, are going to be either created or just gone by 2030. But there's a good side. They also project a net increase of 78 million jobs.
Yeah, so big changes are definitely coming, but it's not like the robots are taking over. The report says the job market is being shaped by 5 big trends: technological change, the green transition, economic uncertainty, and geoeconomic fragmentation, and then demographic shifts.
All right, so let's break down these trends a bit. First up, tech change threat. The report really focuses on AI and how digital access is growing everywhere.
You can't ignore AI. It's affecting everything like healthcare, finance, even entertainment. The report really makes it clear that digitalization is changing how we work. Like the skills we need, how we all work together, even where we work.
So it's bigger than just learning how to code. It's understanding how tech is changing everything about work, huh?
Totally. And then you've got the green transition, this huge global shift to dealing with climate change. So it's everything to do with reducing emissions, adapting to the environment, things like renewable energy, sustainable practices, even building infrastructure that can withstand climate change.
We can already see how it's impacting things, like all these green jobs are popping up, but the report's saying this is just the start.
For sure. The need for skills in environmental science, renewable energy, and sustainable practices, it's going to explode in the next few years. If you want a career that'll last and do some good in the world, this is the trend to watch.
So we've got the tech revolution going on and the green revolution. What else should we brace for?
Well, there's economic uncertainty. Things are shaky globally, right? You've got inflation, slow growth, maybe even recessions on the horizon. Businesses need people who can adapt to change and handle unpredictable situations.
So basically, being able to bounce back and stay flexible is super important now. And what about all the political tension we're seeing, internationally? I think the report called it, like geoeconomic fragmentation.
Yeah, that's it. It's nationalism, reshoring supply chains, trade wars. All of that stuff makes things uncertain for businesses that rely on global partnerships. The report says there's a growing need for expertise in cybersecurity and risk management because companies are trying to protect themselves.
It's like the whole world's playing a crazy game of chess and everyone's trying to figure out the next move.
Uh-huh. Yeah, kind of. And then you've got the demographic shifts, aging populations in developed countries, but then you have these booming populations of young people in developing economies. That mix is going to have a huge impact on workforces globally.
So we've got these 5 huge trends in play: technological change, the green transition, economic uncertainty, geoeconomic fragmentation, and demographic shifts.
What's interesting is that these aren't happening separately. They're all kind of connected, right?
Totally. It's all tangled up. Take digitalization, for example. It's super important for both the green transition and dealing with the challenges of aging populations. Like, we're already seeing AI being used to make energy use more efficient, and all these remote work technologies are allowing older workers to stay in the game longer.
It's wild how these things that seem separate are shaping a whole new world of work. But for someone out there actually planning their career, what does all of this really mean?
Well, that's where the report gets super interesting. It looks at what jobs are expected to grow, what jobs might decline, and most importantly, what skills you'll need to succeed in this new landscape.
Okay, so let's get down to it. Which jobs are going to be in high demand?
The report lists the top 15 fastest growing jobs, and some of them might surprise you. Right at the top, we have fintech engineers. So that makes sense, right? With all these new banking apps and digital payment systems popping up everywhere.
Exactly. As finance goes more and more digital, these are the people who are building the systems and created the solutions that are changing the whole industry.
So fintech is blowing up. What else is on that top 15 list?
No surprise here. AI and machine learning specialists are in super high demand. And the report makes it clear that this isn't just a Silicon Valley thing. AI is impacting pretty much every industry you can think of.
Okay, so maybe brushing up on some coding skills isn't a bad idea. What other jobs are on the rise?
With all the global tension, security management specialists are becoming more and more vital. Think cybersecurity experts, risk analysts, anyone who could protect sensitive information and all that important infrastructure,
Yeah, you see data breaches and cyber attacks in the news all the time.
right? And another hot job, autonomous and electric vehicle specialists. This one's directly tied to the green transition, and there's a huge demand for people who can design, build, and maintain these vehicles of the future.
So if you love cars and you care about sustainability, that's a career path to consider.
For sure. A few other interesting ones on the rise. You've got data analysts and scientists, UI and UX designers, software and applications developers, environmental engineers, and information security analysts. It's interesting, a lot of these jobs require a mix of technical skills and what the report calls human-centered skills. Things like creativity, being able to communicate, and problem solving.
So it's not just about being a tech whiz, you also need those soft skills to really succeed.
You got it. And the report suggests these human-centered skills are going to be even more valuable as automation takes over a lot of those routine tasks.
Okay, so to stay ahead, we need to focus on a combination of technical skills and human-centered skills. Now let's talk about the jobs that are declining. What should people be watching out for?
One of the big trends is that clerical and secretarial roles are shrinking, especially jobs that involve tasks that are easily automated, like cashiers and ticket clerks are probably going to see a big decline.
Yeah, that's already happening with self-checkout kiosks and online ticketing.
Exactly. And it'll probably speed up even more as that technology keeps getting better. Another job on the decline is postal service clerks. Email and online shopping have totally changed things.
I can't even remember the last time I mailed a letter, actually.
Right. It's a whole different world.
Right?
We're also seeing fewer bank tellers because of online banking. And data entry clerks are facing job losses because AI systems can often do that work faster and more accurately.
It sounds like any job with a lot of repetition is at risk of being automated. But these jobs won't completely disappear, will they?
That's a really good point. A lot of these jobs are going to change. Workers will need to adapt, learn new skills to keep those jobs. It's not just about specific jobs disappearing. It's about whole categories of work being disrupted and reshaped by these bigger trends we talked about.
So it's not just about your job disappearing, it's about understanding how your whole field of work is evolving. What does the report say about the skills we need for the future, even if our jobs aren't disappearing tomorrow?
The report stresses that even if your job seems safe, you still have to adapt. On average, it estimates something like 39% of your current skills will be outdated by 2030.
Wow, that's almost half of what we know now.
It's a big shift. But the good news is that more people are upskilling and reskilling than ever before. Around 50% of workers took some kind of training this year, compared to 41% last year. So lifelong learning is becoming essential, not just a nice thing to do.
So what are those essential skills for the future?
They list the top 10 core skills for 2025, and the top one is analytical thinking. In a world with so much information and where everything changes so fast, being able to solve complex problems and think critically is key.
So it's like being able to make sense of all the information that's coming at us constantly. What else is important?
Resilience, flexibility, and agility are super important. You have to be able to handle unexpected events, bounce back from setbacks, learn new things quickly.
So we need to be like masters of adaptation, which makes sense when everything is constantly in flux.
Exactly. Then there's leadership and social influence. With so much remote work and global teams, being able to work well with others, inspire people, and build good relationships is essential.
So you can't just be good at the technical stuff. You need to be a team player and a leader, too.
Right. And then finally, the report highlights curiosity and lifelong learning. Having a growth mindset, being eager to learn new things, and constantly growing your knowledge and skills, that's huge.
It's like that saying, the only constant is change, and to handle it, you have to be open to learning and growing.
Exactly. The people who are open to always learning, those are the ones who will really thrive in this new world of work. But it's not just about general skills, right? There are also skills that are especially important for those specific hot jobs we were talking about earlier.
Right. So for those tech-heavy roles, like the fintech engineers and AI specialists, what are those must-have skills?
Those jobs absolutely require tech skills in areas like programming, data analysis, and cybersecurity.
Okay, so those are the hard skills that'll get you in the door.
Exactly. But even within tech, those human-centered skills we were talking about are becoming really valuable: communication, collaboration, problem solving. You need both the technical and those interpersonal skills.
So basically, to really stand out, you need to be a well-rounded person. Any other specific skills that the report points out?
One that's getting more important, especially with all the focus on the green transition, is environmental stewardship. This means knowing a lot about sustainability, climate change, and things like environmental conservation.
So if you want to make a difference and you're passionate about the planet, those are the skills to develop.
Absolutely. Now, thinking about your own career and everything we've talked about, what really stands out to you? What skills do you feel you're already good at, and which ones do you think you might need to work on?
That's a good question. I feel pretty good about my communication skills, and I'm a good collaborator. I love working in teams and getting different ideas from others. But I definitely need to work on my tech skills. Maybe I should finally sign up for that coding class I've been thinking about.
That's the spirit. Being proactive and open to learning is the key to success in this job market.
So we've got a pretty good handle on what skills we need. But what about companies and governments? What are they doing to help people adjust to these changes?
Well, the report points out that a lot of companies are having trouble finding skilled workers. So they're rethinking how they attract and keep employees. They're trying new things to bring in talent, keep them around, and give them the skills they need.
So what are they doing? How are companies actually adapting?
One of the big things is reskilling and upskilling their current employees. They're realizing that it's often cheaper and more efficient to invest in training the people they already have.
So they're tapping into the potential that's already there, right?
Exactly. And to attract and keep good people, they're offering more flexible work arrangements, like remote work and hybrid models.
Flexibility is becoming like a major perk, isn't it?
Oh, for sure. One thing I found really interesting, the report says supporting employee well-being is a top priority now.
Really? So it's not just about salary and benefits anymore. It's about creating a workplace where people feel valued and supported.
Exactly. Companies are realizing that when employees feel good and supported, they're more productive and more invested in their work.
That makes sense. What else are companies doing?
They're focusing on diversity, equity, and inclusion to make their workplaces more representative, which gives them a wider pool of talent to draw from. And they're starting to get rid of degree requirements and focus on skills-based hiring.
So it's about recognizing that someone's abilities aren't defined by their degree. It's about what they can actually do.
Exactly. They're realizing that talent can come from anywhere, not just traditional education.
It sounds like companies are really stepping up. But what about governments? What are they doing?
Governments are starting to see how important it is to invest in developing the workforce. The report talks about different initiatives, like funding training programs, giving tax breaks to businesses that invest in upskilling their employees, and working with schools to create training opportunities that are more relevant and easier to access.
It sounds like it's a team effort. Businesses, governments, and individuals all working together.
Exactly. It's going to take everyone working together to navigate these big changes and make sure everyone can succeed in the future world of work.
Well, that's a lot to think about. We've got some big changes coming our way. But I'm already feeling a bit more confident just understanding what those changes are.
I know what you mean. And this is just the start of our deep dive. We've barely scratched the surface.
There's so much more to explore, and we'll be back soon with part 2. We'll go even deeper into what the report says and explore some practical ways to navigate this crazy and exciting job market. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Last time, we were talking about how companies and governments are adapting to the job market. But what about us? As individuals, how can we get ready for a future where AI is such a big part of everything?
That's exactly what the report digs into. They talk about this idea of a shifting human-machine frontier. Sounds kind of sci-fi, but it's really about recognizing that the line between what humans do best and what machines do best is always changing.
Right.
As AI and automation become more sophisticated, they're starting to take over tasks that used to be, like, uniquely human. Things like data analysis and even some creative stuff.
So it's not really humans against machines. It's more like humans and machines working together. Exactly. It's like figuring out how to use each other's strengths. And the key for us is to stay ahead of the curve. Focus on those things that humans are really good at, the stuff machines have a hard time replicating.
So the skills we talked about before, critical thinking, creativity, communication, collaboration, those are going to be even more important.
For sure. And the report has some interesting examples of how this is playing out in different industries, like in healthcare and education, where human interaction and empathy are so important. They predict humans will still be the main players.
So even with AI doing diagnoses and creating personalized learning, we'll still need that human touch. What about jobs where a lot of things are already automated, like manufacturing?
The report says those industries will probably see a bigger shift towards machines doing the work. But that doesn't mean all the humans will be out of jobs. It means they'll need to adapt and learn new skills to keep up.
So it's all about knowing where your industry is going and preparing for those changes.
Exactly. And they highlight this idea that companies are focusing more on workforce augmentation instead of just swapping humans out for robots.
Okay, what exactly does workforce augmentation mean?
It means using AI and automation to make humans better at what they do.
Mm.
Like imagine a surgeon using a robot to help them do a really complex surgery with way more
Oh,
precision.
it's like giving people superpowers.
Totally. And it's not just for super specialized jobs. Even in customer service, you have AI-powered chatbots handling the simple stuff, which frees up the human agents to deal with the more complicated issues.
So it's about finding the right balance, where humans and machines work together to achieve things that neither could do on their own.
Yeah. And it's not just about getting things done faster. It's also about creating jobs that are more interesting and meaningful for humans. If AI can take care of the boring, repetitive tasks, we can focus on the parts of work that require creativity, critical thinking, and those human connections.
It's a cool idea, using technology to unleash our human potential. But the report also recognizes that this whole AI revolution has its downsides, right?
Of course, when you have such a huge technological shift, there are always concerns. One of the big ones is job displacement. Even if AI creates new jobs, will the people who lost their jobs because of automation be able to get those new jobs? That's a tough question.
It's like, what if the people losing their jobs don't have the right skills for those new AI jobs?
Exactly. That's why the report stresses how important it is to invest in reskilling and upskilling programs. You have to help those workers transition into the new roles.
So it's not enough to just invent new tech. You also have to invest in the people who will be using it and working with it.
For sure. And as we talked about before, it's not just about technical skills. It's those human skills that are becoming so important.
Right, all that collaboration and communication stuff. Any other downsides the report brings up?
Well, one concern is that AI could make existing inequalities even worse. If the benefits of AI are mostly going to a small group of highly skilled workers or just to certain industries, you could end up with wider income gaps and social unrest.
So it's like a digital divide where some people get all the advantages and others get left behind.
Exactly. That's why the report emphasizes making sure the benefits of AI are shared more broadly. Everyone should have a chance to be a part of this tech revolution.
It's not just about developing AI, it's about doing it in a way that's responsible and ethical.
Absolutely. Making sure AI serves humanity, not the other way around.
Okay, so we've got all these forces changing the job market, this human-machine frontier that keeps shifting, and all the potential good and bad that comes with AI. It's a lot to take in.
It really is. But what's so interesting about this report is that it doesn't try to oversimplify things. They recognize there are no easy answers. The future of work is going to be complicated and unpredictable.
But it does sound hopeful too, right? It's not all doom and gloom.
Definitely not. They're optimistic that we can use AI for good. Create a future where technology makes our lives better and opens up opportunities for everyone.
Now that's something I can get behind. So where do we go from here? What are some things that individuals, businesses, and governments can actually do to prepare?
The report has a whole bunch of strategies, and we'll get into those more in the next part of our deep dive. But I think the biggest takeaway is that we need to start thinking about lifelong learning.
Right, that whole idea that education isn't something you do once and you're done, but that it's a constant thing.
Exactly. And it's not just about going back to school or getting a degree. It's about being curious, learning new things, experimenting with technology, and always pushing yourself to grow.
It's like having a growth mindset when it comes to work.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's something no machine can ever take away from us.
Okay, I'm feeling inspired and ready to face the future, but we're out of time for this part of our deep dive.
We are.
But we'll be back soon with the final part where we'll break down even more of the report's insights and look at those practical strategies for navigating this ever-changing job market. So stay tuned. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've talked about the big trends shaping the future of jobs and how humans and machines are going to be working together. Now let's get practical.
Time to dive into what the report recommends for handling all this change, right?
So what's the first piece of advice? What can we actually do to be ready for this future world of work?
The report really stresses that it takes a multi-pronged approach. It's not just on individuals, it's businesses, governments, educational institutions. Everyone needs to work together to make a workforce that can adapt and bounce back.
Okay, so everyone's got a part to play.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So let's start with individuals. What can you do to stay ahead?
We've already touched on lifelong learning, but the report gets more specific than just saying learn new stuff.
Definitely. One big thing they recommend is figuring out where you have skill gaps. Take a real look at what you're good at right now and compare that to the skills that are in high demand, either in your field or in areas you're interested in.
It's like taking stock of your skills, right? What you're good at, what needs some work, and what new skills you might want to pick up.
Exactly. Once you've figured out those gaps, then you need to find ways to learn. This can be anything from online courses to going to conferences, getting certified, or even going back to school.
And there's so much out there now. A lot of it's free or pretty affordable.
Absolutely. Platforms like Coursera, EDX, Khan Academy, they have tons of courses on everything you can think of. Coding, data science, business,
No excuse for not learning, basically.
pretty much. And don't be afraid to try different things. Some people learn best from videos, others from reading, others from doing projects. Figure out what works best for you.
Make it fun, right? So find your learning style and make it engaging.
Definitely. Now, beyond learning new skills, the report also says networking is important. Building relationships with people in your field and even in other industries can open doors you never expected.
It's who you know just as much as what you know.
Totally. Go to industry events, join online communities, connect with people you admire on LinkedIn. So many ways to build your network.
Okay, so for individuals, it's about identifying skills gaps, finding ways to learn, trying different learning styles, and networking. That's a solid start. But what about businesses? How can they help their employees and build a more adaptable workforce?
The report has a whole section on workforce strategies, and a lot of it builds on what we've been talking about. One key thing is investing in programs that help employees reskill and upskill.
Right, we touched on that before, but it's so important it's worth mentioning again.
Absolutely. Companies need to commit to giving their people the training they need to keep up in this fast-changing world. It's not just about one training session. It's about making learning a continuous thing.
So make learning part of the culture of the company.
Exactly. Build it into the job, encourage people to set learning goals, and give them the time and resources to do it.
Okay, any other strategies the report recommends?
They highlight how important it is to offer more flexible ways of working. Things like remote work, hybrid models, flexible schedules. That can help attract and keep good employees, especially when everyone's competing for talent.
Yeah, flexibility is like non-negotiable these days.
Totally. They also suggest focusing on skills-based hiring. Move away from those strict degree requirements and actually look at what people can do, what experience they have.
So recognizing that talent can come from different places, not just from having a specific degree.
Exactly. And finally, they stress how important it is to create a workplace culture where people feel good.
We talked about that. When employees are happy and healthy, they're more productive and more engaged with their work.
You got it. Invest in programs that help employees with their mental and physical health, make a positive and inclusive environment, and create a sense of community.
Okay, so businesses have their work cut out for them. Invest in training, offer flexible work, focus on skills, not just degrees, and make sure people feel good. It's a lot to do. But what about governments? What's their role in all of this?
Governments are super important for creating the right environment for a strong workforce. One of the biggest things they can do is put money into education and training, especially programs that focus on those skills that are in high demand.
Right, some governments are already doing this, but the report says they need to do even more.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the money, it's about making sure everyone can access these programs, no matter who they are or where they live.
So equal access to education and training for everyone.
Exactly. Governments can also make the labor market more flexible by updating laws and regulations to keep up with how work is changing.
So making it easier for people to change jobs, work remotely, or start their own businesses.
Yep. And then they can help make sure AI is developed and used responsibly. Invest in research, set ethical guidelines, and deal with concerns about job losses and inequality.
Okay, so it's like a three-legged stool. People taking charge of their own learning, companies creating a good and adaptable work environment, and governments creating the right conditions for a strong workforce.
That's a great way to put it. All three have to work together if we want to navigate these changes and create a future of work that's good for everyone.
This deep dive has been so helpful. There are definitely some challenges ahead, but it feels like everyone is starting to understand what needs to be done to prepare for the future of work.
I agree. The report lays it all out. It's a call to action for everyone, individuals, companies, and governments, to embrace lifelong learning, adapt to these new technologies, and create a future where work is more equitable, sustainable, and fulfilling.
Well said. And that wraps up our deep dive into the future of jobs. Just remember, the future isn't something that just happens to us, we create it. So go out there and build the future you want.
Absolutely. And keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep.